Dan, he's from CFL from here in the Dalles, and he's one of the people that encouraged me to come here, and or told me that I would get assistance if I came here. If you guys noticed, with almost every one of those recordings, I was trying to explain that I needed to talk to Dan. When you got somebody who actually does their job, that's phenomenal. And usually when you get somebody who actually does their job, it's when they're young and fresh and don't know nothing yet. I'll explain that in a bit. The best case workers I ever had as a kid were new. The best staff members that I ever met in these facilities were new or minorities, like Command Sergeant Major Reuben Greer. Anyway, he was retired by the time he worked at Orcas Cottage at Child Study and Treatment Center in I want to say Tacoma, but I don't think that's it. I think it might be Kent. I'm going to have to look that up. Anyway, Dan, he's actually attempting to follow the mandated reporter training, and that's like, holy shit, like, he's really trying to do that. But also, the guy's been so absolutely incredible. The last time that I saw him, it's like 1:30 in the morning right now, so it's pretty late. I saw him yesterday. But the time before that, I suppose I should start off by explaining that the first time that I talked to him on the phone, and it is recorded, and he knows it. Also, the first time I saw him, I guess, I did apologize to him because I did not record it. And he said that was all right, that, I'll be seeing him plenty in the future, and that I'll have plenty of chances to record. So yesterday I had all of my recording stuff set up, and I learned something new. If I try to record and then I open up any of the evidence that's on that particular computer as far as the media player goes, then the media player automatically hijacks my camera. And since it automatically hijacks my camera from my YouTube stops. And I don't understand why it hijacks the camera from it, because it's an audio file. That's fucking stupid. Anyway, so I did not record everything with Dan. I got the first 30 or 40 seconds with him, I guess, because I showed him how my recording device works, my clandestine recording device, the one that's just audio. And that one, I make sure that people are aware that I'm recording. There is no way that anybody in or out of their right mind is going to be able to not tell that I'm fucking recording. Anyway, so that's twice that I have not recorded it. And the problem with this is, all right, so we've already done part of what it takes to turn one of these situations in, and he's going to help me to turn another one in. So that is kind of a start. Chances are nothing will come of it. Everybody knows that. I'm fucking homeless. We all know how it works. We all know how public opinion works, especially right now. And pretty much all these people, although they all agree with me after looking at the evidence that they've seen, just a little bit that they've seen is enough for them to understand that this is a battle that needs to be fought. But they all see it as a lost cause, and that's why most of these people, and this is an important thing to pay attention to as well. A lot of the time, people are gung-ho when they first get a job like that. They got that job because they were going to save the world. They was going to rescue people. And then they have a few heartaches. And those heartaches break them and they just can't do it anymore. They got to be afraid of getting in trouble if they do their jobs, especially mandated reporting. And sometimes they don't realize that until it's too late. Usually it's all right, especially if you're a rookie. But also when you establish that kind of a record, you do become a target, even if you're working with the Department of Health and Human Services. So that's also something that needs to be kept in mind. I don't think that he should be considered a whistleblower because that's not what he's doing. What he is doing is assisting me in turning in the things that I need to. One of the things about the mandated reporter training and also the Department of Health and Human Services, they're supposed to have, and by the way, the other office I have to go to tomorrow is a Department of Health and Human Services office. So that's a good thing as well. The other office that I was at, that's also a Department of Health and Human Services. It's the Aging and Disabled office. So there's like 4 different Department of Health and Human Service things here, or Department of Human Services. I guess they got different initials. One of the homeless folks here was explaining to me they have 2 different ones. Apparently, they have the DHHS, Department of Health and Human Services, and that one is federal. It's national, and then they have the Oregon Departments of Human Services and such. So you learn something new every day. Now, I haven't actually looked into that to see the validity of it, but it seems to me that he might have been correct. Because I think that office down next to the Kiwanis Park or whatever, right next to the river, that one I believe is the Oregon State one, but I'm not for certain. Anyway, as far as turning the crimes in, yes, he is supposed to, well, he's supposed to call it in immediately, but because he already called one in immediately when he was supposed to, and he made the report that he was supposed to, it should be understood that between then and now, it's been an issue of trying to meet up with him so that I could show him the evidence and so that we could turn it in together, which is actually the way that the law requires it. But there's also the fact that he's not my caseworker. As far as social services goes, because he's not with social services, so I'm not sure what the limits are of his abilities and it's a business that he works for. So they're basically subcontracted social workers, which is weird because they the first ones that I met, they seemed as if they had either absolutely no training as far as de-escalation or as far as not blowing off a victim. Either that or they had a lot of experience with blowing off homeless people intentionally. And either event, Dan is not treating me that way. And there's also, the guy did a lot, like a lot for me in the last couple of days. And all of that assistance is stuff that I was not expecting. I was expecting him maybe to take an hour or two with me in a room at his office, and that would be good. But I might try to reschedule with him and see if he can actually meet me at the other office, the first one that I'm going to, because I do have business there, and he did meet with me yesterday, I believe yesterday there, maybe the day before. I'm pretty tired, and I'd have to go back and look at my videos at this point to figure that out, and I'm just too tired for that. Anyway, I was tired at around, I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock, but I laid down and I was petrified of going to sleep, so I got up and walked around a little bit, figured I'd get fatigued, talked to my YouTube for a bit and make sure I do the best I can at making a proper video log, and then I went back and tried to go to sleep again, and I'd like to see my older brother before I die. His name is Eric Schwartz. He's an asshole. But he's an asshole who looks out for people. He would not, in a million years, ever molest a child. If a child is being molested or has been molested, well, my older brother is base. Let me tell you what that means. When me and Eric lived in Huntington Beach, California, we were white kids in a very Hispanic neighborhood, and also we were people who listened to rock and roll when rap was what was extremely popular. And most of y'all, something that's completely left out of, well, I guess it's postmodern history, but the rock rap wars of the 90s up in Washington State, Oregon, and California, the number of people that were killed for music, killed for their taste in music, it's just insanity. You know, I know a lot of history about a lot of places that I've been to that most people don't know about, because I've gotten to experience a lot of different things. Now, the thing about bass, me and Eric were in Huntington Beach, California, and we were what's called dirtbags. You know, you wear a Metallica shirt, you got the chain on your wallet, you got rings on your fingers that got skulls on them, because, well, here's the thing, it's California and you might get your ass kicked by a lot of people. So if you got a bunch of rings on that got skulls on them, well, that's a lot of knots and knurls that make the shape of a skull, and it would really suck to get punched by one of them. So they were mostly deterrent so that people wouldn't want to beat you up or wouldn't try to beat you up. But there was a little cutout, and it was a little pocket park. It was probably only 30 feet by 30 feet. It was just this little tuck out corner at the police annex in Huntington Beach, California. And if we made it there, we knew that there was a guy there named Martin Young. And Martin Young was a high schooler. And he went over there because we were junior high schoolers. And everybody would meet up at base if we could make it there without getting jumped. And that was, if we made it that far, we could hang it out there long enough that the kids that would beat us up would disperse. And of course, Martin Young was there, and he was intimidating because he was a high schooler. So he basically sat there so the mini gang members, the ones trying to come up that were in junior high school, yes, even in Huntington Beach, California. So that was base. It kept us safe. And that place over there by the 76, I asked them over there if it was base, and they didn't quite understand. So I explained to them that there was a place annexed in California and we'd get beaten up. But if we could make it to the police annex to hang out at that tree, it was actually a tree and a picnic table and I think a garbage can too. If we could make it there, we were safe. And they were like, yep, that's this place here. It's their warming center, their version of a warming center. It's a warming center and a homeless shelter and all of that rolled into one. And it's like an old grocery store, like a ma and pa kind of grocery store that has been converted. Anyway, one of the biggest problems that they have here, though, just like in Hood River, they have no organization and they have no community liaison. Your community liaison as a homeless liaison, their job is to show you where the warming center is. Their job is to actively seek and find the new homeless people and to show them where the services are. The faster you can get them to the services, the less of the resources that they have to expend, and the less resources of their own that they have to expend, the more likely it is that they're going to get off the streets pretty close to immediately. If you can show them where the food is, it's free food. It may not be the best, but then you're not spending $200, $300 a week on fast food and giving yourself terrible gut issues in the process. That's $200 or $300 that you can add to, well, the money that you need to get into a place, or the money to buy a vehicle and license it, and to rent somebody's. What you're literally doing is renting somebody's address. I know a few people in Boulder, Colorado, that are able to save and conserve money by renting their address out for $50 a month to homeless people. This is homeless people who bust their asses to try to get unhomeless, and it's worth the expense if you can find somebody to do that, because then you can license your vehicle and all that shit. It's also worth $50 because if you do something fucking stupid, then they're gonna come knocking on some dude's door and you don't even fucking live there. So they're putting up a bit of risk too of getting harassed if you messed up. And of course that means that people who do that, they're only giving the offer to people they know. houses in Boulder are not cheap, and this meth epidemic hit everybody hard. It even hit a lot of rich people in their pocketbook heavy. One of the things they say often, white kids go to treatment and black kids go to juvie. And that is the way that it is, in my experience even. And most of the lockdown facilities, it was primarily minorities. And of course, at the treatment facilities that I was in as a kid, they were primarily white kids. Most of the people that were in there for either drug addictions or attempted suicides. I know all of this seems like a lot of rambling, but really, if you pay attention, you get an education. There's a lot of stuff in there that you might not understand. If you're autistic and have ADHD, well, you very well may understand me extremely well, especially in my youth. As I got older, I grew out of that, but one thing to note is that if I'm not overwhelmed and I'm not scared, I do extremely well. When I was in Boulder, Colorado, and I was the homeless liaison, part of my job did include, Officer French, for example. I helped organize a whole group of people to go down and complain about Officer French all at once. And a day later, they took Officer French off the mall. It took, I want to say, 20 people to get it all done, but I think there was only like 7 of us that all mobbed up into the police annex and said, hey, this is not okay. And the thing is that these tourists and these visitors, this officer is doing it blatantly and cruel in front of these people who are walking down the street, and even they are making comments about how Nazi the cops in Boulder are acting. It wasn't all the cops in Boulder. Cops like Officer French and Officer Steinman give officers like Ramos a bad name. But then, again, I've also seen the chink in Ramos's armor, or the dent in his armor. I'm not sure what word you guys use as that metaphor from your area, but I did see how improperly and immorally he treated Christopher Weaver. Christopher Weaver was Lexi Delgado's victim for years, and Officer Ramos helped her out as much as he could, including giving Christopher Weaver tickets for things that either A, were not illegal, or B, that were things that Lexi Delgado had done, that's just stupid. I got a lot of respect for Ramos, but that killed it all at once. With not recording Dan, that's a situation where I've recorded a lot of people doing a lot of messed up stuff, but I also like to give credit where it's due. And I also like to make sure that I'm telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, which means that a lot of these videos that I can't play them. I can go back and I can listen to them and make sure that I do have my information correct. If there's something that I said wrong or stated wrong when telling the story, then I'll go back and explain that there is a mistake that I made, that it wasn't a matter of me trying to lie. It was a matter of my words didn't come together right. Or one thing that's very common is that while I'm talking, I'll notice that my YouTube will freeze up for, a few seconds at a time, and then it pops back in the middle of another sentence. And I'm like, fuck, Not cool. Now, even Ramos didn't do his job when it came to mandated reporting. We learned very quickly upon becoming homeless, nearly all of us that are male anyway, and most of the females too, that you are not the cop's friend and they are not your friend. And that's never the way it's gonna be. Their job is to hunt you and make you invisible. I don't mean with some sort of magic spell. I mean to threaten, harass, and intimidate you and make you too scared to come out of whatever hole that you crawl into so people can't see you. Then they want to put services blatantly out in the open. These are called hobo traps. They put, let's say there's a lot of stuff out at 55th and Arapahoe, and then you put services out there on 55th and Arapahoe. 55th and Arapahoe is quite a ways from the main drag. You know, it's not a super heavily trafficked area. It's a great place for cops to be able to pick somebody up on their way to or from the Social Security office, or also on their way to and from going to one of the clinics up there, or also going, you get where I'm headed on this, right? They put the services in a place where it's easy for them to basically pick and choose who they want to harass at any point in time. Boulder, Colorado, the laws are different than they are here in Oregon. I do want to bring that up because down at the homeless encampment that I was just at, everybody's got an axe or a hatchet. I only saw one axe actually, but everybody else has got hatchets, and nearly everybody there has either got a bow or a slingshot that they actually literally carry them with them in case of emergencies. Now, if they wanted to, I'm pretty sure that, I don't know, in 5 minutes' time, all the homeless people down there could probably easily break, I don't know, 300 to 400 windows. With their hatchets, they could do, well, if they walked up behind an officer, one of them in front of them to distract them, one come up behind them, and, well, you know, that's the thing, is that here there's a high ratio of military trained homeless people. The reason for that is because these are military communities. A lot of these folks that I spoke with, they've actually been either homeless or mostly homeless since being discharged. So some of them get veterans benefits, and it goes to their drug habits for some of them now, but not all of them. We end up with situations where we've got 3 or 4 perfectly fine individuals down at that place, the former supermarket place, or Ma and Pa's grocery store kind of place, I guess. You get a few of them that are just regular people that are, you know, down on their luck, so to speak, but they're still trying. Some of them might be addicts, you know, but not all of them. And then you've got 2 or 3 people there that are so batshit fucking crazy, like you're hoping that they'll go away and start talking at somebody else's group. And you know how horrible that feels? To think like that about somebody else. It also feels horrible when people do that to me. So I do try to listen to those folks, because you can separate the trauma from the drama. For a lot of these folks, they've been traumatized to the point that you have to be able to sift through their shit. You have to be able to easily mark what's right and what's not. With Daniel and also with Dean, both of them were able to tell me places that I could go that were safe, places that I could go for services, and even who to talk to and who not to talk to, because some of those people are just, they're used to bullying people they consider mentally ill into doing what they want. This is not okay. So those people who are, they're pretty much normal guys. On any day, you might hang out with them at a football game or drinking a beer or, just hanging out like any one of your other friends. But also, they got the mean streak that has to be there for their own protection. A lot of that's because you get skeezers and pleasers, folks that talk nice to you while they steal your shit. And then you got some of those folks that are not quite right in the head, that they just walk by and absentmindedly picked up something that's not theirs, but, it doesn't matter if it's theirs or not. It doesn't really occur to them. There's a lot of homeless people out here that they literally have the mind of a child. I met at least 3 women here just today that are that way. There's not much there left. And we know what people are going to do to them when they get messed up on drugs or alcohol and they just feel like they have to do something. And we know that not only is there going to be nobody there to protect her, there's going to be nobody who's going to hear her. Nobody's going to listen afterwards to her. When she's screaming at the top of her lungs because this guy that, he doesn't hardly even remember her. If he was drunk, and he definitely remembers her if he was messed up on meth. And she's screaming at him, and of course, she's homeless. She's broken. And they come and arrest her. I've seen that happen more than once, where a homeless woman who had been raped by somebody in a house saw their predator. It did not end well for the homeless woman. The dude just says, man, I don't know what the fuck. She just fucking went crazy and fucking started swinging. Even if she didn't. Or, oh, dude, she just fucking off her goddamn rocker. I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. Sounds like maybe them folks who got the horse trailer are trying to fix it up or something. I don't know. That's in the background here. Over in the parking lot that's behind me, there's a horse trailer and a pickup, of course. And I think the horse trailer kind of looks like it's set up for being a house. Good camouflage. That's the way I'd do it. Matter of fact, I specifically bought a horse trailer with the intent of doing that. Have the front part be a tiny apartment and have the back part be a metal shop. That didn't work out so good. Shit happens. Anyway, I recorded a lot of stuff, but I don't have access to all of it, and it would be easy to get access to all of it again with a little bit of assistance. As far as the stuff that needs to be turned in, there's an incredible amount of it, so it does have to be done a little bit at a time. But it's also something where it does have to be done. All of the crimes that have been committed since I got to Oregon need to be actually looked into, and investigated. I think it would be extremely well served for these departments to admit that they screwed up, apologize to me, and, well, you know what? I'd even accept not getting an apology to me if they would make a public apology to the people of Hood River and the people of the Dalles. If they were willing to do that, I'd forgive them and even say, hey, I think they should be allowed to keep their jobs if they consider this a lesson learned. Things are not always as they seem, and these officers need to understand that. Most of the time, the simplest answer is the right answer. Well, they must have done it because of this. Well, you know what? Some of us are extremely different. There aren't many people who can take as much punishment as I've taken and not kill themselves or others. Now, this cliff is pretty unsafe. I believe this late at night. It's a really long drop down. But I should show you this parking lot. It's actually, you're not allowed to park here after 9:30 or 10. But it's some kind of construction buildings, and there's the library. And of course, if you look around me, I didn't burn anything down. I did light some fires, lit a couple cigarettes. Ooh, scary. I am gonna try to go to the hotel and get some sleep. There's some stuff that I should have taken care of and sent tonight, but I got a shit ton of fucking anxiety. I was able to get quite a bit accomplished, I guess, just not all the things that I wanted to. I guess I'm overly ambitious. I try to set unrealistic goals. Those goals would not have been unrealistic before I hurt my back. However, with my back screwed up, yes, there's this thing called fatigue. And of course, it creates a lot of wear and tear. And also there's the mental issues that I have, and I for certainly do have them. At all points in time, including right now, I'm scared shitless. But bravery is not the absence of fear. It's courage in the face of it. Or standing up in the face of it. Anyway, I gotta apologize to Dan again, so I'll make sure I do that. The conversations that he and I had are definitely things that need to be recorded because he does have the understanding of these situations, and I don't want to delve into his personal life or his personal experiences. I got a feeling he's had some personal experiences that help him to understand a lot of this. I also met a lady who's, I believe it was her son who's autistic, and she works at one of the offices here. I'm not saying that she'll help me, but it would be nice if she would. Not help me as far as do everything and be my guardian or anything like that, but to help explain autism from an understanding point of view. We got two types of parents of autistic kids. Three types if you consider somebody who abandons their kid a parent. I don't. But one of the types of parents of an autistic child that you have is the type that, well, no matter what, it's the kid's fault. The kid is always to blame. When you have an issue with the kid, it doesn't matter whose fault it is, you're going to blame it on the kid. If there's something that you did wrong, your kid's autistic, so you use that as an excuse, even if it's an outlandish story that you're telling. You stayed up the night before, coked out of your gourd, and you didn't get much sleep, and now it's time for work and you're out of coke, and you need the excuse to not go to work. Or you got drunk and you screamed at somebody a whole bunch, and then that shut the person that you were screaming at down so that they couldn't function. But instead of fessing up to the way that you treated them, or that you were acting in that situation, you want to blame it on your autistic kid. Oh, I'm sorry, such and such is like that. I can't help it. None of my bitching was about your kid. Your kid was alright. When your kid was having issues, I understand those issues because you were triggering the fuck out of your kid. That screaming is scary. Well, I can scream too. I can. I'm capable. But it seems to me you guys have a different kind of anger than I do. When I scream, I'm great at projecting. I want you to feel how I feel. You see a display of aggression that you need to be afraid of. What I see is a projection of my fear onto others so that they fully understand what it's like. Somebody typed in one of those groups that they typed that on one of my videos that I was screaming in, that it's the scariest thing she'd ever heard. I'm like, damn, there's a lot of scary stuff out there to hear. My scream is really that scary? And sure, not to most people, I suppose it wouldn't be. To her, it certainly is. Sometimes when I scream, I'll do it abruptly, and it even surprises me when I'm going back and listening to the recordings I got, because I'm like, holy shit, I knew that was coming, but Jesus, fuck, that was scary. They're absolutely right. Autistic people, we're not stupid. We can learn. We learn your tactics. We learn your ideals. What most of us don't comprehend is why you say one thing and do another. Why do you say one thing and do another? It don't make no damn sense to any of the autistic people I know. Any of them. For us, if we say we're going to do something, we do it. If we're not able to do it, we try to let people know. One of the things that's an important part of our lives is being cordial. Being on time is probably the best thing that you can do with someone who's autistic. Being on time. Because if you don't show up, whatever issue that it is that they're having, if they're having an issue, is going to be compounded. And if they're not having an issue, well, by the time you get there, they might be having an issue. Especially if you're a no-call, no-show. We're not people who like to small talk. That's bullshit. We don't need bullshit. I don't need the I'm sorries and I'll fucking pray for yous. How about we get down to fucking business, sort through some fucking evidence and turn in some goddamn predators, okay? That's all I need you for. If you people want to claim that I'm using you, those of you who wanted to send me offers to help, send me friend requests, and I'd let you know only if you're going to help. Well, there's only one way you can help, and that's by digging into the fucking giant goddamn worm's nest that is this evidence pile, starting from the very beginning. Take a look at the actual evidence, all of it. I'm the victim in this. I'm not the only victim, but I am Natalie's victim, and Maddie Boa's victim, and Alicia Bollinger's victim, and the victim of their friends and family. Well, I shouldn't say friends, they're drug contacts. Most of these folks met each other, well, through Natalie and Alicia's drug sales, and that was also, well, Maddie Boa, where do you think she was getting her meth from to sell? This is not chump change, folks. So, by the time everything was said and done, with Ted getting into some pretty serious trouble, the guy who was actually supplying Maddie Boa with her meth was a guy by the last name of Richie. We called him Irish in Boulder, but now he goes by, what was it, Psycho, I think? He's not Psycho. There's a lot of different people that I ran into, small world, different jurisdictions, but like I said, small world. Mr. Richie I saw in the Arapahoe County Jail, and he was holding me a lot about his situation with Maddie Boa in the year before Natalie was killed. Anyway, one of the things that Dan did, he rented the room here for one more night so I can actually stay until Wednesday morning, which is good. Hopefully, if they're going to arrest me, they'll at least give me a couple of days, because they know what I'm trying to do is to turn in evidence. Mostly of child abuse, because at this point that's about the only evidence left in a situation that's not well past the statute of limitations. Other than the crimes here in Oregon and some of the ones in Nebraska that need to be turned in. But the thing is, I'm fucking petrified of law enforcement in Nebraska after what they've done. And I'm petrified of law enforcement here after what they've done. Now here, I would have to go through all of my videos and make absolutely sure, but I'm fairly certain that the sheriff's department here, other than dispatch, the sheriff's department here has not had a situation, altercation. None of the deputies have threatened, harassed, or intimidated me. None of them have bothered me or even looked at me cross-eyed. So, if I am arrested, hopefully I'll be in good hands. And of course, that all comes down to If people are going to do it to me and I'm told by law enforcement that it's not illegal when they do it, well, let's see if it's really illegal. If you're going to tell me it's not illegal, then I'm going to do it back. Oh, now it's illegal? So it's not illegal, but it is illegal to do it back. Oh, well, that's stupid. Anyway, like I said, my life don't matter. What matters is turning in the evidence. What matters is saving lives. What matters is getting predators off the streets. What matters is getting that woman who barely has anything left of herself to somewhere that there can be an actual human being come back out of her. There's a woman named Nicole Jarrell, and she's got some different thinking, but she wants to have a therapeutic writing farm. She's originally from Nederland, Colorado, and she's also, or was at one point in time, one of my therapists in between when Natalie Bollinger had her whole drug-induced episode crap in Virginia, which, no, I'm not blaming the things that I did on her episode with the drugs. That was something that, well, it had an effect on the situation, but it was predictable and expected. When she broke her leg trying to kill herself, they put her on opiates. So this is somebody who's got an opioid addiction. So obviously it's not something that's gonna be a good thing. Anyway, I've been mostly rambling because I'm exhausted and I'm tired. But I'm also scared that if I don't get as much out as possible, it'll never be heard. Also, if I have a heart attack and die, I want to leave at least enough on here that people can go back through and try to find the evidence. I want there to be the evidence on here that I gave full permission for all of this stuff to be seen by law enforcement, the FBI, and the like. The reason for that is because even if I die, they can look at that evidence and they can use that testimony. They can listen to the predators themselves and the victims, and in some situations, the actual scenarios. And they can put a stop to these predators. My life doesn't matter, that car full of evidence does. Good to be ready. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, and no victim left behind.